Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I should see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhollow today on another late night episode. Mainly because I was playing some Baldur's Gate, but Baldur's Gate it's a very long campaign. Actually, I'm not even sure how long it is necessarily. Let's see how long to be Baldur's Gate free. We're about, I think, 24 hours through, so we've hit like 75 to 100 hours to complete. Oh my god. This game is so long, but if you want to know where we are, I think we finished the Underdark area essentially. We've made through there. But anyway, good evening everyone. We're now in Fawnhollow. It's 11:41 p.m. on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. Which I don't know if that's the end of Act 1, but I think it did say finish Act 1 as like an achievement. But it's crazy how long this game is. I don't even know how long we've been playing this game for, but basically since it came out, I think. And obviously we're not like rushing through anything. We're it's difficult for us to always find timing, but we do our best. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, what we can talk about today, I don't really know. I was going to do a holiday chat, but it's also quite late, and I feel much more zen right now than to go on a holiday anecdotal spiel and all that sort of thing. Leave Act 1 for somewhere altogether darker. That achievement we got is one we got today. It's crazy how long this campaign is, which to be honest ain't that outrageous, because I guess the ND campaigns can also be pretty long. Like one I played back in university, I don't know actually how long we played it for necessarily, how many hours. It probably would have been about, I think, 50 hours, and we didn't even get very far. I got to like level 6 or something. I don't even remember what we were doing. It was Curse of Strahd is all I remember, but okay, maybe we didn't do 50 hours, maybe that's a bit long. I just remember we got really sidetracked, and then one player character ended up killing another player character. Not like in a malicious way or something, but it was more like a clash of ideals where she wanted to side with the vampires, and he was a paladin who was vehemently against undead and vampiric life forms or something, so they just like had a big conflict. That's all I remember. She was just pretty cool with it, to be honest. Like, she very much understands. Like, the thing I remember is that both of them were the ones who played a lot of D&D before, and they both understood that this like kind of had to happen. So it wasn't like out of like completely nowhere. I just remember being like, I had no idea what's going on. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to talk about. Let's talk about something else. I finally responded to some comments yesterday, which is cool, I guess. I didn't realise it'd been 3 weeks since I last responded to comments, and I apologise for that. Often I tried not to leave it for that long, but I guess it's probably the holiday timing's kind of messed it up, because probably the timing I was meant to reply, it was in my holiday. I mean, I've just been busy. Busy still, because as I said, I'm doing like an art challenge thing, but haven't really had time to work on the art, so maybe I'll do that like after this. But then I need to play some games, I think, after. Well, I don't need to play some games, I want to play some games after this, and maybe I'll do some drawing after. What should we talk about? I don't know, what's going on in r/games. What gaming news can I talk about? Last of Us Studio, I don't know what any of this is. Baldur's Gate 3 hotfix 8 patch notes. I suppose it's interesting because Baldur's Gate is getting loads of like updates and fixes, I suppose, as we play. It's very weird playing a game while it's getting live updates. I mean, it literally happened during this Railbound Let's Play, where I can't remember which episode, maybe around like episode 15 or something. No, let's do it. Maybe like episode 12 or something. I was, I played it again, and I was just like, what the heck's happened? This game looks different. Like, I was like, are there more worlds? And I was like, the tunnel labeling looks different. I don't remember it being like dots or something. Or maybe it wasn't dots before. I honestly can't remember which way around it is. I need to record some more way around, to be honest. But I just remember it just being very confused, feeling like I gaslit myself into thinking that the game looked different than it actually was, but it turns out it did actually get an update. So it's interesting playing a game live as it's getting updates. I mean, it's very sort of far-flung, I think, from my gameplay experiences growing up, especially because most of the times when I was playing games when I was growing up, I either played like live service games where it's kind of expected to get updates like Team Fortress 2, or I played Nintendo games which basically never ever got updates. You know that famous quote, I don't even know if it's like Miyamoto necessarily said it, but it was just like, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is bad forever, or something like that, which is obviously no longer true, I suppose, in today's gaming climate. You know, I mean, like, I don't know what would be the pinnacle, I suppose, of that. The antithesis of that explanation, maybe like No Man's Sky or something, where on release it was, well, actually, as I understood it from No Man's Sky, on release it was fine. It wasn't like amazing as a thing, but people were like super hyping up and expecting it to be like this amazing grand thing with all these like super features. And to be fair, it was missing like a lot of these features, like the multiplayer aspect, and like the procedurally generated stuff was a bit like or whatever. And people were like super hyping up, but on release it was like had a terrible reception. But I'm pretty sure if you look back in retrospect, I'd imagine people would be like, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't like great or anything, but it was like passable. I remember just like the controversy, I suppose, of that release. But then since then, it's had like years and years of updates, and now it's actually like pretty good, right? Like what other games? Like Final Fantasy 14, 15 or something. It happened with that as well. I think it was the MMO one. I'm not actually sure because I'd never played it, but basically like it was pretty terrible and people were like upset about it, and then the people who created it were just like, yeah, we're gonna like do everything again from the ground up, and then now it's just like, wow, it's like amazing. If it is the MMO, then it's like one of the most popular MMOs right now. I don't even know who does this. I would assume it's Lily or Fawners, but we'll just give it to Vivian just to see whose it actually belongs to. It is Lily's, okay. Yeah, these like sort of redemption stories, I suppose, when it comes to games. Coming back from the brink of the depths of despair and the brinks of destruction into actually becoming good games. Like that one comes to mind. And honestly, Final Fantasy is if there's any MMORPG I would play, it would be Final Fantasy. I think I've said this. What's stopping me from playing it? One, time. MMORPGs take forever. But two, also, I don't really like any of like the race designs, you know. Final Fantasy falls into that trope with anthropomorphic style characters, you know, unsurprisingly with the races I tend to play, where it's just like, oh, you know, the male and females, like, well, either the females don't exist or the females are just human characters instead. I don't even know, maybe it's different now. It's always a thing with these fantasy races, right? They love putting in like 50 different types of elves when I want like weirder and strange things. Like there was this MMORPG I played called like Wild Style, which I, you know, kind of like burned and crashed on arrival due to the horrible choices by development, but I actually really liked it. And I remember it had pretty cool races, you know, like it had a human race, then it had the elf race, of course, and then they had like a hamster race, a robot race, a rock person race, a thing which I guess is kind of like a fae race. It was like, it's kind of like Vistaya from the Runeterra. That's what I remember off the top of my head. Anyway. I like playing let's see, Final Fantasy 14 plays 8 races. Here, which are probably humans. Elezen, sound like elves. They do look like elves. Lalafell, these look like the halflings or the gnomes. Mikote, these are like the slightly it's what's a Japanese word for it, like kimono or something? Well, not actually kimono or something, but it's just like, you know, cat girls and cat boys or whatever. Rogadon, I guess these are kind of like the orc characters. Aura, I don't even know what these are. I guess these are meant to be like kind of draconic, but they're still incredibly human. People just like playing humans, which is totally fair. Like I've got nothing against people wanting to play humans. I think most people go into the game wanting to play a more humanized character, but I'm just sort of like, I do like my weird like fantasy races, you know. Let me play like a weird slime blob or something. Hrothgar. Oh yeah, these are like the anthropomorphic race, but except for you can only be like a male Hrothgar or something, right? I don't know if I have introduced a wider gender spectrum of that, but like it was a thing recently as well. Like isn't Viera also, it was like female locked recently, but then only recently they introduced like male Viera or something? I don't know if I just made it up or something. Anyway. I'm not going to pretend that like if they do introduce a racial fantasy race, which I'm just like, yeah, I'm more fond of, I would actually start playing the game, because I probably wouldn't. Even, let's be real, MMORPGs just take a lot of time. They are fun though. I won't deny that, but but it's just a time sink which I don't want to time sink into, I suppose, is my response. Anyway, so what other games had like these like sort of massive redemption things? I'm trying to think. Like, those are two that immediately come to mind. No Man's Sky, Final Fantasy XIV. Did Diablo 3 also have a similar sort of thing? I mean, right now, Blizzard's just going... who knows what Blizzard's even doing? But, like, Diablo 3, I remember, so hyped up and terrible, terrible release. Like, it was... People hated it on release. I think I told this story before, but I remember my maths teacher being like really excited at the time for Diablo 3, and then when it got released he was like, oh, I can't wait to play it, and I was like, oh, I heard it was like really poorly reviewed, and he was like, don't say that, I've been waiting for this for like a decade. And I was like, well, I hope you enjoy it. I never asked again if he enjoyed it though. I hope he did. What other games had like crazy comeback stories? I feel like I spoke about this before, but I can't really remember. What about things in general which had like crazy comeback stories? What about like movies which were released with terrible reception and then they've sort of become cult classics now? Or maybe like music stars or something. I don't know. I feel like One Direction was kind of like, I remember, oh god, back in school people you either loved One Direction or hated it. Most people in my school very much hated One Direction, being like cheesy sort of British boy band or whatever. We got a lot of hate for really no apparent reason. I think a lot of popular things get a lot of hate for really no good reasons. I mean, sometimes there could be good reasons, I suppose, to dislike something. I'm not going to say that, you've got to objectively love One Direction's like work or something, or maybe and I don't know if it's true, if any of the One Direction people are like horrible people, then maybe, then you'd have a pretty good reason. But I suppose it's sort of just like, you got to get rid of your inherent biases in the first place, or trying to be like, I don't know, counter-culture, right? Counter to what's popular, but in a rather negative sense. I mean, that's just something which I feel like is very classic of teenagers, myself like also probably included. If something's popular and it's just like, oh, I can't like that. I built my personality off not necessarily being decisive, but being contrarian. But nowadays I feel like people are very into One Direction, at least the recognition of them being like catchy boy band sort of songs. I'm sure a similar thing happens in like NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, stuff like that. Subscriber, you're my subscriber, you're my subscriber. I wonder who that is nowadays. Absolutely hated by not the general I shouldn't say the general populace, because it's important to remember the general populace is not reflective of your local populace, but the sort of thing where like someone who's very popular but probably hated by specific local populace, like your secondary school that you go to or something, but then coming back round to it. It's sort of like if you're at the wrong age, I suppose, or when they hit their peak popularity. I don't know who really fits that bill now. I'm sort of just like sort of unaware of ongoings now anyway. Like, who do people rate as overrated? Oh, it's probably K-pop, isn't it? I don't really think about it. Like, I've said it before. I like K-pop, but I'm not like a huge K-pop stan or anything. I feel like I have a reasonable relationship to K-pop where I'm like, yeah, there's things I like and there's things I don't like from it. Well, actually, there's not many things I don't like, but also that kind of applies to most music, to be honest. Yeah, and it's sort of like, I don't know. It's these sort of things where it feels like the fan base, I think, if anything, is a thing which turns people away from these mediums in first place. And I'm certainly no stranger to people disliking things based off a fan base, I mean, like, I used to watch My Pony Friendship is Magic, which had a very, I suppose, despised fan base for a while. Homestuck, what else? Undertale, all these fandoms. Well, okay, I guess it's kind of weird to say me being part of a fandom, because I'm not really part of a fandom. It's not like I really interacted with so much as I sort of just consumed extra media outside the actual media property itself. But I was never like a super fan, I suppose, and getting super involved with these sort of things. Like, you might be like, did you ever read like fan fiction? Like, not really, unless it was like hugely popular, like memed ones or something. Like, as if there's like a horror fan fiction called Cupcakes of My Pony Friendship is Magic, like fandom, which I have read that one. And if anything, it's just sort of like comical. It's not actually comical, because it's actually, if you don't want to look it up, it's very sort of like gory. It's like a slasher fanfic, but not like a not slasher, like horror slasher. It's basically just overly gratuitously violent for really no apparent reason except for, I guess, shock value. So I read that one, but it's not like I've really read fan works all that often that I can think of, unless they were particularly popular. I don't know. I guess I've never really gone too far deep down those fandom rabbit holes. But anyway, I don't know. Have those really had comebacks? I don't know if people really look back on My Little Pony Friendship as Magic and be like, wow, you know, actually it was truly fantastic. I mean, in my opinion, I think I've often said that it was, especially in the first few seasons, pretty good for a kids show. You know, just like pretty enjoyable. You know, the same way that I sort of think Bluey is like, well, yeah, obviously, you know, it has got a kid demographic, but it's also got like a family demographic, whereas it's like, it's enjoyable enough by people not from necessarily the main demographic, which I think is fine, you know. Enjoy what you like. If you like something and you watch it, like, if, I don't know, maybe you like watching Pink Fong videos or something, and you love Baby Shark, go for it, you know. Life's too short to care about what other people judging the things that you like, you know. So I don't know. I don't think these things, and I don't know if people look back on Homestuck and be like, oh, you know, I don't know if Homestuck was necessarily reviled, I suppose, when it came out either. I think it's like Homestuck in general is pretty, and if anything, Homestuck's kind of going the other way. Well, Homestuck was pretty well appreciated when it came out, the fandom was hated, but nowadays it's very much like the original creator and the actual work itself is kind of like going down the drain because it's got like Homestuck 2 or something, and I don't really know. Which I also don't think it finished. Like, I don't really know what's going on with Homestuck 2. I didn't bother reading it. Homestuck to me ended with that X7 finale. Ended weirdly as well. I should really talk about Homestuck sometime, like in its entirety, because what I would say is I love Homestuck's like lore and world building sort of thing. I don't really like the way its ending happened, but I like the journey, I suppose, on the way there. Anyway, what are these like redemption stories? Media redemption stories. I don't know, it's hard to think off the top of my head. Like games which just like the developers were like, I will not give up on you, and continue to say. I'm so sure I've talked about this before in an Animal Crossing episode. I feel like I even looked it up at that point. I mean, why not look it up again? Video games with best comeback stories. Oh, Cyberpunk's actually a pretty good one. Yeah, that's true. No Man's Sky, of course, the number one I said. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Oh, is Battlefront 2 the one where it was like to get Darth Vader you had to spend like hundreds and hundreds or something? Is it the sense of pride of accomplishment game? Because people do like Battlefront nowadays, that's true. No Man's Sky, of course, the one I said. Crazy comeback Final Fantasy. It was Final Fantasy 14. People hated it on release, and then we just somehow brought it back. For Honor? I don't know if For Honor was actually all that hated on release. But it is popular now. Destiny! That's a good one. I actually completely forgot about the fact that people did not like Destiny. That much when it came. Well, it's not that people didn't like it, it was like, meh. I remember it being super hyped when it came out, and then suddenly it had a big fall from grace. But now people play Destiny a lot, to be honest. CSGO, really? I didn't know that. GTA Online? I also don't know. Diablo 3 did have a comeback. Fortnite. Well, Fortnite's comeback is different. It wasn't really. It had a comeback so much as it said that its non-intentional mode became the more popular one. Like if you didn't know, Fortnite releases a single player game called Save the World or something where I don't even know. I think it was like Left 4 Dead-esque sort of thing. It was like a tower defense game. I remember watching the trailers for that and being like, oh, that looks really cool. And that was like its main mode, and then like the Battle Royale thing was like a sort of afterthought. And then it's like the Battle Royale kicked off, and the Save the World gameplay was just a bit like, if anything. Midnight. It's a new day. Yeah, I mean, look, this person is also saying, I disagree with Fortnite's inclusion. Yeah, it's not like... Fortnite, it was like it released 2 different games, one which was meant to be the one in the spotlight, and the other one which was just sort of like built from the mechanics of the first one, and just turned out that second one being like way more popular. No Man's Sky, I've got to say, is really one of the craziest comeback stories. It's a shame that there's only like 10, to be honest. Anyway, let's stop reading comments. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit? Was it a comeback story? What? What is this? Oh no, these are just characters who are like comeback kids. Pauline? What? Oh, Rainbow Six Siege is an interesting one as well. I didn't really think about that. I don't think Siege, you know, excuse me, flopped as hard as some of the other games on the list, but... Oh, do you remember that trailer that Siege was released with? I should talk about that sometime. We're running out of time for this one, but these comeback stories, I'm pretty sure I've spoken about this before, but I forgot about Siege being sort of on that thing. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Socials and Discord down below. Hope to see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.